Welcome to A Moment of Zen. Time to sit back and relax as model, actress, mentor, and supermom Zen Sams takes you on a sexy and wild ride, covering the latest in film, fashion, pop culture, cryptocurrency, fintech, cannabis, and entertainment from the millennial mom's perspective. Here's your host, Zen Sams.
Welcome back, New York City and beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome to episode 233. We're celebrating almost 6 years on the air. Here's to another exciting episode. It's such a pleasure to spend my time with you on the airwaves. Thank you for tuning in every Saturday night and engaging with me on social media thereafter. That truly makes it all worthwhile. Please continue to follow me at Zen Sams. That's Zen with an X, not a Z, XENSAMS. And remember, all of our episodes are available on our YouTube channel. We upload Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern via digital streaming. And you can also check us out on Your Home TV platform at mox.yourhometv.com. It's free programming and family-friendly programming to you. In the Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, today's conversation is about motherhood, marriage, and ministry, but taken to a level most of us can hardly imagine. We're chatting faith, family, and 11 children, how motherhood became Texan-based Karissa Collins' superpower. In the Brain Blueprint segment brought to you by the Melillo Centers, we're featuring Kate Swenson, founder of Finding Cooper's Voice, a global community of over 1.5 million people, author of the bestselling books Forever Boy and Autism Out Loud, and the co-founder of the More Than Project, which provides critical mental health resources for caregivers. We're going to be joined by our co-contributor, Dr. Robert Melillo, world-renowned expert in childhood neurological disorders, professor, best-selling author of Disconnected Kids, and creator of the Melillo Method, which has transformed the lives of thousands of families. Together, we're going to break the silence, the stigmas, and build strength. We're going to define how personal storytelling and neuroscience are reshaping the way families and society understand autism. In our Going Deep segment brought to you by CO2 Lift in our Expert on the Microphone series, today we're joined by Dr. Jennifer Walden, a Texan board-certified plastic surgeon and the founder of Walden Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center. She's going to join me to discuss how she seamlessly integrates aesthetics and sexual wellness into her practice, offering holistic care for her patients, and how both CO2 Lift Pro and CO2 Lift V play a vital role in achieving these goals. In the Better, Brighter You segment brought to you by Cispera, the gold standard in treating hyperpigmentation, today we're bridging the conversation between pioneering regenerative medicine and proven dermatological treatments like Cispera with expert on the microphone, Dr. William Gale, a board-certified physician, innovator, and founder of the Gale Center in Midtown Manhattan. And welcoming back to this week's Clean Collective Express segment, brought to you by Society Brands and Clonomic. Last time we talked about the little habits that wear us down without us even realizing it. And today we're tackling another hidden culprit, the everyday plastic zip bags in your kitchen. They may seem harmless, but research shows they can shed microplastics that end up in your food, your body, and even your energy. We'll be right back in the Hydration with Heart segment featuring the incredible Karissa Collins. You're listening to A Moment of Zen. I'm your host, Zen Sams. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV with Kathy Ireland and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
The Kelly Williams Show is brought to you by Serendipity Yacht Cruises and Events. Tune in and turn on your happy. Kelly Williams is full of energy and incredible guests. Watch her anytime, free programming on Your Home TV network, and do follow her on social media for a chance to win monthly prizes. Check out The Kelly Williams Show on yourhometv.com.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome back to the Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut. Today's conversation is about motherhood, marriage, and ministry, but taken to a level most of us can hardly imagine. We're chatting faith, family, and 11 children, how motherhood became Carissa Collins' superpower. Now imagine being a parent and being pregnant most of your marriage. 18 years, 11 children, and still showing up with joy, purpose, and a radiant sense of calling. For Carissa Collins, motherhood isn't a limitation, it's a superpower. And in building what many call the Collins clan, she hasn't just created a family, she's created a movement. At a time when the average US household has fewer than 2 children, and that's according to Pew Research in 2022, and birth rates have dropped nearly 20% since 2007, according to the CDC, Carissa stands out. But what makes her story extraordinary isn't just the number of children, it's the way she has turned family into faith, chaos into calling, and home into a hub of influence. Joining me now is Karissa Collins. She's a Texas-based photographer, author of 2 books, Bible study leader, homeschooling mom, business owner, and a mega social media influencer who uses her platforms to glorify God and inspire women to embrace motherhood with joy and purpose. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Hi, thank you. I love the way you put that. I really appreciate all that.
Absolutely. You deserve a trophy. You're a trailblazer. I mean, let's chat about this. You've been pregnant most of your marriage. So statistically, most women in America today have between 1 and 2 children, and many delay or even limit childbearing due to career pressures or financial concerns. But you've chosen a very, very different path, welcoming 11 incredible children into your home over 18 years of marriage. That means you've been either pregnant or raising infants for most of your marriage, a reality that many feel is just unfathomable. So how has that shaped your identity as a woman, as a wife, and as a mother?
So most people probably don't know this unless you're following me like all the time, but I actually got married not wanting children. I didn't want
I
to
did
be.
not know. I did
Yes.
not know this.
I never wanted to be a mom. I got married with career in my mind. I always went to church and I went to Bible college. I was very strong in my faith and in the church. But I wanted to be a WNBA star. I wanted to be a professional singer. I had huge aspirations. And about 6 months into our marriage, me and my husband were in church. And the sermon was about faith and trusting God. And we had a 5-year plan. We weren't even going to think about kids for 5 years. I was on birth control. And the Lord just changed our hearts completely. And we were like, we trust God with everything except when to have kids and how many kids to have. And so that day I went off birth control and here we are. Now,
Wow.
it isn't that easy. We had lots of fights throughout the years. I ended up getting really sick. I got diagnosed with MS. I had heart surgery. All kinds of things happened in this process of having 11 kids, but ultimately we decided to trust the Lord through all of it. And I am so grateful that we did.
I think a lot of women listening and the ones that are going to be tuning in, whether they have 1 child or many, can relate to that idea of motherhood being both stretching and strengthening. And I love that you trusted God the way you did. So let's chat relationships with each child. Oh boy. So in a family of 11, I imagine every child carves out their own unique personality and role. Psychologists do note that birth order and family size can significantly shape personality development, from leadership traits in firstborns to creativity in middle children. So do you find common threads across your kids, or is each completely different? I mean, do some become helpers or even friends amongst their siblings than to you? And do you feel closer to certain children at different stages?
So it's so funny. I probably have 2 or 3 of each personality, which I actually love, because when we go out into the world, we have to deal with so many different personalities. And in our home, we have them all under one roof. Most of my kids are anywhere from 13 to 25 months apart. First and second child, they're best friends. My third and fourth child, they're best friends. My fifth and fourth child are best friends. And now my 10th and 11th, my 1 and 2-year-old, are best friends. It's just so fun as a mom to watch their personalities grow, to watch their bonds. They have a really close relationship with each other. And it's really important for us to make sure that they keep that bond, because we're not going to be here as long as they'll be here for each other.
That's beautiful, because it does truly show that big families don't erase individuality. They actually highlight it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of parents listening and watching can take heart in how intentional you are about seeing each child for who they are. Now let's chat the aspirations of your children, of the Collins kids, if you will. So sociologists say children often model their parents' choices, right? But sometimes they rebel against them. So with 11 different personalities, I mean, you've got a spectrum of dreams under one roof. Do your kids talk about wanting large families of their own one day, small families, different career paths, and how do you encourage each one of them in their unique aspirations?
Yes. So ultimately, me and my husband, we do believe in trusting God with what our calling is in life. And we would love for our children to just simply trust God. If that means God gives them one child or 50 children, ultimately, we believe that's up to God. So my children, I have some that say they want 100 kids and they wish I had 100 kids. And then I have a son who at one time said he didn't want to get married and he didn't want any children. But their view of life and their wants and desires change. I don't ever discourage them from having their own mind or their own wants and desires. We simply just teach them what we believe and they get to ultimately make that decision. I don't ever want my faith to be their faith or like my religion, my decisions to be theirs. I want them to make their own decisions and to know God themselves. So I do have like a bunch of kids with all kinds of dreams and desires. So now my son that didn't want kids or to get married, now he is like set for the NBA. He is like full force NBA star. Wants to get married and wants to have children. And like my girls all have like a desire number of children they want, but they at the end of the day say they want to trust God with that. But things change year to year. Everybody changes their minds and they like as we grow, like I said, when I got married, I didn't want any children. And here I am now, as we get closer to God, our dreams and desires will change to his.
And how old is your oldest and how young is your youngest?
My oldest is 15 and my youngest just turned 1.
Now, love story between you and your husband. So behind every big family is a marriage holding it all together. So how did you meet your husband? And when you got married, you said you did not want any children, but did you both envision having this many children? Or, I mean, talk to me.
We actually met in the club, which is crazy to people that know me. My husband had never gone to the club. That was his first night. He played basketball and his team made him go. And I went to the club to witness to people about God. I know it sounds crazy. And I never had a boyfriend. I was 21 when I met him. I had never had a boyfriend, never kissed, never done anything. Like I was super pure. And my husband, so like I was super naive. I danced with every guy, like gave them my phone number. I'm not joking because I was hoping to like win them over to Christ. Like I was really naive, okay?
I-
Only one person ever called me. And guess who that is? My husband.
Of
But
course.
he called me and he asked me about God. He told me he was a Sunday school leader. And I was like, oh my goodness, I have to meet this guy. Like nobody's ever approached me about God, you know? It was literally love at first sight. Like I fell in love with him the day I met him. And 2 years later, we got married. He wanted, I think, 2 or 3 kids. And I had said, I can't really remember how many kids I wanted, but I didn't really want children that badly. Motherhood didn't look appealing to me. It didn't look like fun. My mom had to sacrifice everything for me and my sister. I came from a family of 2. He came from a family of 3. And so we did not envision this life. This is not when we got married, we never thought, oh, we're going to have 11 children. We've been paycheck to paycheck for 15 years of our marriage, maybe 16. And within the last 2 years, my husband started his own business and we have like had some comfort financially. But it's been a struggle and that does bring us closer. We do share the same faith. We trust God with our finances and to provide for the children that he gives us. And so that has definitely built our marriage. But we wake up every morning and we'll just be sitting outside watching our kids play and we're like, we don't deserve this amazing life. Like you couldn't ask for a better life. It's literal pure joy to just sit there and watch your children play together and just know that these are your children. It's just we're still in awe of it.
Oh, you're going to make me cry.
Aw.
So let's chat about that. Let's chat faith, family, and your business. So you're not just a mom to 11, you're also an author, a boutique owner, a health entrepreneur, a digital content creator. And studies do show nearly 65% of mompreneurs struggle with burnout. Yet you've turned your life into a platform that uplifts others. So, how do you practically balance faith, family, and business without losing yourself or your joy in the process?
Yes, doing all of those things without children is hard. So doing them with 11 children, it can be overwhelming. I do have seasons of like I have to stop everything and just be a mom and just do like focus on my family. But ultimately, the key that I believe to maintaining all of it is simply putting God first, waking up every day and making sure my relationship with God is right. Because when I sacrifice my relationship with God, everything else gets sacrificed in the process. I will not be 100% for all the other things. So if our cup isn't full, then we can't pour out. And the only way to fill your cup, which I truly believe, is to be in that quiet place and have that relationship with the Lord and allow Him to fill you up so you can pour out in everything else. I do put my family before all the other things. Um, I started social media simply because when I got married, me and my husband, we were on birth control. Like we were just planning our own life. And when the Lord took me to see what His heart is, I was like, this is so much better than my plans. His plan is the best plan that I could never have thought of. I would never have dreamed of 11 children. Like it wasn't even like a tiny thought in my mind. And so I started social media to just share that, to share what God's been teaching me and the journey that He's brought me on. And just to be like, there's a better way than what you think is best.
That's refreshing. It truly is. Now, when people picture a mom of 11, they assume there's no space left for individuality. But identity beyond motherhood is critical for well being. So, do you ever take time for just yourself, whether it's a girls' night out, a date night with your husband, or even a quiet moment alone?
Yes, definitely. So my husband and I, we try to do at least one date night a month. Lately, it's been more like two a month. I also have a women's trip. So I run a Bible study. So I do have a group of women that I do community with. And we actually have a huge women's trip coming up in 2 weeks that we're super excited about. We're running an Airbnb and we're all going to stay there. So yes, I also play pickleball with my husband. We do pickleball tournaments and
Oh,
stuff.
I love that.
And
So you do the night out, you carve out time for hubby, you're going out on vacation, you're definitely taking care of yourself, which leads me into the next question. I just want to be mindful of our time. So the clean living, toxins, there's a lot of buzzwords going on in today's culture. There's so much conversation around toxins in the household, clean eating, and even debates about things like chemtrails. And families are bombarded with choices, sodas, sugary drinks, or clean living alternatives. And it can really feel overwhelming. I mean, the wellness industry in the US alone is now valued at over $450 billion, which shows how many people, in fact, are searching for better, healthier ways to live. So, do you personally buy into the toxin free, clean living approach? I mean, what does that look like in your household when it comes to things like sodas and beverages and everyday choices? And do you talk to your children about health in a world where like the chemtrail conversation is just as loud as the wellness one?
yes, we talk about this, I think, daily. I do buy into it. It is overwhelming. I did have a season where I got rid of everything toxic and my house was like organic and all of that. And it's hard to keep up with. I will say that. Your clothes don't feel like they get super clean and your dishes that might not feel like they're clean. So I have had to balance my choices on that. So we like use only clean products. We don't drink soda. I limit candy. And I noticed that their health changes when they eat sugar and they drink sugar. So I do have rules. They're not allowed to like they do get paid for helping with our businesses. They're not allowed to use their money on sugar and soda. Um, Now I also believe that if you go too far, your kids will then leave your house and they will like overconsume those things. So I do them all in limits, but in my home we try to do no soda, no sugar.
Yeah.
We keep the chemicals like only to the things that we need. So
To a minimum, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you make it forbidden fruit, like you
Yeah,
said, they're
yeah.
just going to go out and do it anyhow. So
Yeah.
you can't really do that. And I love that because it reminds us that clean living isn't just about being extreme. It's about that balance. And it's also about being intentional. And I think a lot of families listening feel encouraged knowing it's possible to make healthier choices without losing the balance or the joy. So, which brings us to an incredible conclusion. Thank you so much for joining me today. Your perspective, your insight on life and how you balance it all. It's truly, it was so rewarding to have you on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
And for those who want to follow along and be inspired by her journey, you can check her out on TikTok and on Instagram and on YouTube at the Collins Kids Family. On TikTok, it's the Collins Kids. And of course, on Instagram, the Collins Kids Family. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this. This was the Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut.
Discover the refreshing taste of 100% pure coconut water that actually tastes great. Naturally sweet with no artificial flavors or added sugar. It's packed with electrolytes to keep you hydrated throughout your day. And with 10% of profits going to charity, every sip makes a difference. Pure taste, pure goodness. Experience nature's Gatorade. Visit Once Upon a Coconut or naturesgatorade.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome back to the Brain Blueprint segment brought to you by the Melillo Centers. Today's conversation sits at the intersection of science and storytelling, and it's about changing the way we see autism. Our guest is Kate Swenson, founder of Finding Cooper's Voice, which is a global community of over 1.5 million people. She's the author of the best-selling books Forever Boy and Autism Out Loud, and the co-founder of the More Than Project, which provides critical mental health resources for caregivers. Kate has become a leading voice for mamas out there, caregivers and families navigating the challenges and triumphs of autism. Joining me, as always, is my co-contributor, Dr. Robert Melillo, world-renowned expert in childhood neurological disorders, professor, best-selling author of Disconnected Kids, and creator of the Melillo Method, which has transformed the lives of thousands of families. Together, we're going to explore how personal storytelling and neuroscience can work hand in hand to break stigma and build strength. Kate, welcome to the show, superstar.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Dr. Melillo, welcome back.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, Zen. Thank you.
Okay, so Kate, I'm going to start with you. When you launched Finding Cooper's Voice back in 2014, you did it in secret from your living room, just looking for a safe space. And today, that space has grown into a global community of over 1.5 million people. I mean, that's the power of vulnerability turned into leadership. Good job. What was the turning point when you realized your personal story could heal not only yourself, but millions of other families?
I was honestly so scared. I had this beautiful baby, first-time mom, and he was not developing typically. And I looked at my friends and my family and other kids I knew, and Cooper was so different. And I lived in a very rural area, and I thought, if I just start sharing just small little bits, maybe I can find other people like us. I had no idea it would grow into what it did. I felt like I had the only child with autism. That's really what it felt like. And then I started sharing and people started coming to me.
That's incredible. And it's proof that storytelling isn't just sharing, it's a service. And I'm reminded of Brené Brown, who said owning our story and loving ourselves through that process is the bravest thing that we'll ever do. And you're living that truth. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
I'm going to hand it off to Dr. Melillo.
Yeah. So Kate, obviously I've worked with a lot of moms and parents, and one of the things that I think you've written about is that you had to understand the way your son's brain works, the way he, looks at things. And how has that shaped your care? Because obviously it's also a journey for what can I do for him? How can I help him?
Autism was really presented to us as something to overcome. It was presented as this sad, dark thing you don't want. You want your child to be different. You want them to be better. And so I'm a very hardworking, very focused project manager by trade. I was like, I got this. I can do this. I can do everything they tell me to do and we'll be fine. It doesn't work like that. You're playing a game with no rules. You're playing a game all by yourself. in crisis most of the time. And it eventually hit me that honestly, I was missing Cooper's life. I was trying to make him into something he wasn't. And it broke me in a lot of ways. I hit my bottom and I started meeting him where he was at and celebrating who he was. Of course, working on safety, working on the things, communication, all those important parts. But I stopped trying to change who he was.
Yeah. And I think that you have found not only your safe space, but one of the things that really resonates with me is the More Than Project and the retreats you created for caregivers. Because in the US, there's over 53 million people. They serve as unpaid caregivers, and studies show that they're twice as likely to suffer from anxiety and depression. So pivoting to my next question, why do you believe caregiver mental health needs to be at the center of the autism conversation?
So at my lowest point, I was on my bathroom floor thinking, I cannot do this. I cannot do this alone for the rest of my life. And I'll tell you, I have a wonderful husband. I have a beautiful family. I have so many friends. I have a great career. When you think of someone struggling, you wouldn't picture me. I say that in every keynote I give because people look at me and they're like, you've made it. It must be easy. You've done it. I'm telling you, I grieve every day. I have no idea what I'm doing every day. This is so hard. And there's no one to tell you what to do. So my friend and I created this nonprofit. And it's interesting you mentioned our retreats. We're actually leaving today to bring 120 moms to a camp. All of us have kids with special needs. And it is the most beautiful event you will ever see, to watch them laugh and cry and nap. Napping is the big one. But to find people who live this same life and to not have to defend yourself, to not have to say, but I love my son and autism is hard, but don't get mad at me. All these parts, and to just find your people. I always say isolation is the hardest part. So if I can bring them together virtually or in person, I think I've made my difference.
I mean, that's so important because as moms, we pour so much into our children that we often forget our own wellness, right? And your work is a reminder that by healing ourselves, we're actually empowering our kids too. Now, Dr. Melillo, I know you had a question about burnout there.
Yeah. So, Kate, obviously there are many different therapies and people are, trying to do what they can to help their child. But a lot of parents, after years of doing that, there's a burnout. So how much do you feel that plays an influence in the progress that you've had with Cooper or that other parents might expect?
Burnout's huge. But also as a mom of 4 kids, I'm telling you, all 4 of my kids are hard. I just want to say that they each give me a run for my money at different times. But the difference with autism is it's forever. There's no break. There's no break if I have a cold. There's no break if I haven't slept or I have a retreat this weekend or holidays or vacations. Autism is always here. I think, honestly, for burnout, there's so many things that you can do. One of my least favorite terms is self-care. So if you ask me about that, I don't have any, honestly. So I don't have any right now. I'm not in that season of life. I go and I go. The thing that has made me a better mom, a better caregiver, a better everything is, again, I just keep bringing it back to finding community.
Yeah.
Finding people that I can laugh with, text at 3 a.m., and I don't always get to go. Cooper can't be alone. He's 14. He would need a babysitter. We don't have one. So it's not like I'm getting to dinner or drinks, but I can text them or I can FaceTime with them and we just laugh and cry. It's life-changing for me.
And your books, Forever Boy and Autism Out Loud, aren't just memoirs. They're actual movements. And the fact that Autism Out Loud became a New York Times bestseller shows the world is actually listening in a new way. So why do you think society is more ready now to hear autism stories? And what do you hope families take away from your books?
So don't quote me on this, but my co-author did some research on this, and there's only been roughly 5 books about autism that have ever made the New York Times bestseller list, and none with autism in the title. And I think it's because people don't want to talk about things that are sad. They really don't. Autism isn't always pretty. Our autism is really not always pretty. And, when I bring it up, I get, I'm so sorry, or they change the subject, or people just don't want to know what the realities of caregiving in this life are like. I talk about them. They're my norm. I just share. I just do, because then it doesn't own me. I think when Autism Out Loud came out last April, it was finally time. There were things happening, and people picked up this book and realized we're your neighbors. We're your coworkers. I'm just a mom. I'm just like a normal person you'll see at Target. And yet I have this really challenging, confusing, mysterious thing happening. Let's talk about it.
That's so powerful. And it feels like society is finally starting to trade stigma for empathy. Like Maya Angelou said, there's no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you. And right now you're giving parents, and Dr. Melillo, you're doing the same thing. You're giving permission to speak their truth, which I find so empowering.
Yeah. And, Kate, as you said, we talk about burnout and trying to understand how your child's brain works. But, with my approach, and Zen and I have talked about this as far as neuroscience, do you feel like any professional has really explained to you what's happening in your son's brain? Like what is actually going on with autism in any way?
What's interesting about that is I have a chapter in one of the books where this little girl came up to me and she said, "What is autism?" And I remember I was like, "Buh." I mean, it's so interesting because I live it every single day and I can talk to you and give keynotes and write books about it, but it's a really complicated question. So, honestly, I can admit I probably can't say it as eloquently as I should be able to.
Right. And that's not on you. To me, it's on the caregivers. They should, obviously to be able to help a child, you should be able to understand what the problem is. Right. And that's where a lot of the burnout comes from, because what's your goal? You know what I mean? Like, what are you trying to do? If you have a therapy and says, well, we're looking to get to this, or there's a goal, or, then at least you have something to shoot for. You have like an end result where, with a lot of these therapies, there doesn't seem to be like an end goal and the answers, often are just from care. Well, that's autism. They never explain it. So that's where I felt it's so important and so empowering to parents when we can at least explain this is what's happening with your child's brain. And you may already be aware of this, but every child that we've looked at and studied, especially ones that are non-speaking or low speaking, they're geniuses with their left brain. I mean, they have incredible skills. They're amazing. And so, that's appreciating what is happening in the brain, I think, is really important and can help a lot.
It's fascinating.
Did you want to react to that, Kate?
Well, I was just thinking of this quote that really changed me. I heard it midway in my journey. It's, my child's not giving me a hard time. They're having a hard time. And that has really impacted me, because I think people look at autism and they're like, your life must be so sad. It must be so hard. Your child's so difficult. I can tell you with absolute certainty, Cooper is not a difficult person. He doesn't want to be. He doesn't, the world is hard for him to navigate. So, really shifting my mindset has helped me be better for him, I think.
So Dr. Melillo, what is actually happening in Cooper's brain right now?
Well, there are still, different research, different parts of the world. But for me, looking at a neuroscience, and we've published papers on this, I think at the highest level, there's this functional disconnect between networks. The good news is there is no injury in the brain. There's no damage. There isn't any particular autism gene. There are different traits, but most of the issues are, have nothing to do with a genetic mutation. And there is this disconnect where their left brain is unusually strong and gifted. And the sequence of normal development, where the right brain usually develops first in the first 3 years, and then the left brain takes over, that is disrupted, mainly because there's something called retained primitive reflexes, and there's other issues, but it alters that growth process slightly, not causing damage or a defect, but just that left brain comes online too early, and it holds back that right brain as well as these reflexes do. And the brain is more immature, the brain is unbalanced, and we see like tics or stimming or OCD, they come from overactivity of specific networks on the left. And then they, are not as connected to their body. They have low interoception. They don't know where their body is. They don't build these maps in their brain. And even though all the words are there, they can't speak because they tell us they don't feel their tongue. They don't feel their mouth. They don't know where their body is. And that they also, the right brain drives conversation. The social brain, we have a conversation because we want to share experiences and feelings, and the right brain is what generates that. And when they're not really connected to that, they don't have that drive. That's why they might not, approach other children when they're young, like, neurotypical children will. They don't have that drive to attach or connect. And that left brain prefers to be more isolated and in its own world. So, and this also has an impact on the body, on the gut, on the digestive system, on the immune system. And this is basically what we've been seeing is happening in the brain. And, again, it's something that can be changed, but again, it's not, understanding your child and being able to understand their brain and how it works and work with that is really so important.
Yeah, and it clearly shows that your work, and I mean, look, when you're a researcher and you see families looking for breakthroughs every day, but your work alongside what Kate is doing shows me something equally important, that breakthroughs can also happen in how families perceive autism, right? Not just in labs or clinics. That's a huge takeaway that I am coming to understand in having this interview here. Now, Kate, I'm going to pivot back to you. So you've lived the early days of confusion and grief and uncertainty, and now you stand as a voice of strength. Okay, so every mom listening or watching who's just started their autism journey is desperate for hope. What message do you most want those mamas to hear today?
It's going to sound so simple, but it's going to be okay. I think I was in such crisis in those early years. I have to get him talking. I have to get him to school. I have to get him potty trained and sleeping, and I have to get him caught up. I was frantic. I was a martyr, honestly. You probably wouldn't have even recognized me. I was going, a million miles a minute. I wish I would have had a crystal ball. I wish I would have seen Cooper and I now and our family. We have this beautiful family and we're happy. It looks different, but we are so happy. He's thriving. He's a freshman in high school. He plays Miracle League Baseball. He has 2 best friends. I found out there's a girl in the lunchroom who's really loving him and not leaving him alone. And I'm like, what's happening? We went to the dentist yesterday. He had his first panoramic x-ray. I'm telling you, I would have thought he would have climbed Mount Everest before this x-ray. I'm just, it gets better. And I'm not going to say autism necessarily gets better. I'm going to tell you, you get stronger. You build community. You find doctors that will help you, therapists, things that will make your life easier. So hang on, just hang on a little bit longer.
I'm holding back tears. Girl, you, Dr. Melillo.
Yeah. Kate, in your conversations with parents, what new approaches or shifts in thinking is giving you some optimism right now that you think is happening in society or in science or just in the media?
So I am so thankful that the conversations are happening. Now, I don't know what answers we're going to find. I don't know if people agree with the people researching or the people looking or any of this. But I am telling you, as a mom who has felt silenced and alone for 14 years, finally people are talking about the life that I'm living and that Cooper's living. And I am intrigued to see what we figure out. And I see that in a lot of families too. It's not just me that are feeling that way. It's like, finally, people are starting to wonder why and how. And, Cooper is going to live in this world long after I'm gone. I mean, I'm going to be a caregiver until the day I die. And then someone else is going to, hopefully our family is going to help him and care for him. His siblings are going to have children. I mean, autism is going to affect our family forever. We'll never have a story without it. And I just am so thankful that people are finally talking about it.
Do you think that's played some role in you having a New York Times best-selling book? Is that conversation?
100%. I think our book came out right after the RFK stuff. So I think it really did. And I think what was so beautiful is that, I'm just holding the book, the way we positioned it is, this is the storytelling. So y'all know the science, you all know that part. This is the stories of the children and the moms and the siblings. And I think they really complement each other. So you can learn about the research, but then come read this and get a glimpse at this, this beautiful sunshine boy.
You've combined your lived experience with expert guidance, really, to build one of the largest autism communities in the world. And that's a rare and powerful bridge. And I see now how storytelling and science are working together, because you're creating a more hopeful and effective roadmap for families. It's truly it's really inspiring. I mean, we're at that pivotal moment, like Dr. Melillo said, where all eyes are on autism for whatever that reason. It's affecting more people than we know. So I think this kind of advocacy, demystifying stigmas surrounding autism and the perception around it, and really being proactive, this is where it all begins, Kate.
But I will say, I think we live in a bubble. So this is the uniqueness of the special needs world, especially autism. We live in these bubbles, I think, because we're surviving. And so we need to connect my people with your people. The conversation still isn't happening, I don't think. I don't know how to fix that part. So if anyone has ideas, how we just keep talking, keep the conversation going.
Yeah, Dr. Melillo is full of ideas.
Yeah. Is that, I go out, I'm out there all the time. And a lot of the most current conversation, I go to parties and people will say to me, hey, are they going to actually come out with what's causing autism? And these are people that don't have kids. And so there is an interest out there. And again, I think this blending right here, where I'm trying to bring the reality of the science, what is actually happening in the brain, because my goal is to try to give children their voice and to actually do it. And we do it all the time. We actually do it, in a very reproducible way. But you have to understand why they can't speak and what is the actual problem to be able to do that. When you talk about trying to find a cause of autism, you can't really say that if you don't know what autism is, right? You can't define it, and you can't say, well, what are these things actually doing? But then from your standpoint, speaking to moms and parents and families and bringing that to families that maybe have never experienced this, I think that's so important as well. And hopefully the combination of these two things is what we bring forward. And I think the time is right, more than ever before.
I agree. Yeah. And we are at the end of our date, my friends. Kate, thank you for your courage and for giving voice to millions of families through Finding Cooper's Voice. And Dr. Melillo, thank you for helping us bridge that gap between brain science and the lived experiences of families like Kate and so many others listening, and just really being inspired by this conversation, because it's long overdue.
Thank you.
For our listeners, you can follow Kate's journey at findingcoopersvoice.com, and on the gram, where she's extremely active and full of engagement, you can go to Finding Cooper's Voice, and you can check out her books, Forever Boy and Autism Out Loud. You can also explore Dr. Melillo's groundbreaking work at drrobertmelillo.com. This has been the Brain Blueprint on A Moment of Zen, and remember, whether through story or science, there is strength in connection. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV with Kathy Ireland and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
Disconnected Kids, Reconnected Families is a documentary-style reality series providing an in-home look at families who have children in need of intervention for conditions ranging from behavioral issues and oppositional defiance to autism and ADHD. Watch as Dr. Robert Melillo and his wife Carolyn go into the home and get real with the families. Using decades of experience, they help families not only face the issues head-on, but also overcome their challenges and reconnect as a family. Exclusively on Your Home TV network.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. In our Going Deep segment brought to you by CO2 Lift in our Expert on the Microphone series, today we're joined by Dr. Jennifer Walden. Dr. Walden is a board-certified plastic surgeon and the founder of Walden Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center. Specializing in cosmetic surgery of the face and nose, she was named one of Newsweek's America's Best Plastic Surgeon and the #1 facelift surgeon from 2023 to 2024. In addition to her surgery practice, she also has 2 medical spas, all in Austin, Texas, and caters towards both male and female patients looking to improve their sexual wellness. Now, if that wasn't enough, she's also impressively gone down in history for being named the first female president of the Aesthetic Society in 2022. She joins me today to discuss how she seamlessly integrates aesthetics and sexual wellness into her practice, offering holistic care for her patients, and how both CO2 Lift Pro and CO2 Lift V are playing a vital role in achieving these goals. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Thank you so much. I'm excited.
So let's dive right in. Your practice offers this very wide range of treatments and procedures designed to not only enhance both the aesthetics and overall wellness, but really looking at sexual wellness specifically, you've established yourself as a pioneer in vaginal rejuvenation for women, offering options like labiaplasty and Thermuva and Aviva and so much more. And for men, which I love, because typically you don't see, both sides of that pendulum swing this way, but you offer the cutting edge treatments like the J-shot or O-shot or Bocox and others. I love these patent names, by the way. So as a plastic surgeon, honoring a strong emphasis on sexual health for your patients, how do you see your work empowering both men and women to feel that confidence and fulfillment in their lives?
Very early on in my practice here in Austin, Texas, people started wanting to, they wanted to kind of tell me about how they felt, not just the way they look on the outside, but how they feel on the inside. So I integrated into my practice a sexual wellness component, which I love because we're able to, with my nurse practitioner and my other providers, provide hormone therapy with bioidentical hormones like BioT, and we do medical weight loss, and we do all sorts of peptides and regenerative medicine. And what that does is help people with their libido. It helps them to have their sexual life back. We do non-invasive vaginal treatments as well as surgical treatments. I can do a labiaplasty and make your labia look as if you didn't have 5 children vaginally. I mean, we can take you back in time and make you appear, really great. As if a picture you find online or OnlyFans. I mean, we do that. People bring in pictures, but also we can just help with your hormones and with weight gain, with perimenopausal hot flashes and all that good stuff. And we do the same for men. On the other hand, with my male patients are some of my favorite patients, and we treat erectile dysfunction, and we do male enlargement, like you mentioned, the J shot, which is something I do that people travel over to see me for.
I love it. And I know your Westlake practice even houses the Vaginal Rejuvenation Center of Austin, which is just unique. It offers the devices we're speaking about, right? Including many for specifically non-invasive vaginal rejuvenation. So this brings me to the CO2 Lift V, which is a painless treatment utilizing carboxygel for vaginal rejuvenation. And this particular one offers benefits for both monotherapy use, but also in conjunction with other procedures. So Dr. Wallen, based on your experience with the product, what specific concerns does CO2 Lift V address, and how does it stand out compared to other vaginal rejuvenation treatments on the market?
Well, CO2 Lift V is kind of a unique treatment. It was developed kind of for the face, and we treat, faces with it after hydrofacial to laser to post facelifting. But for the vagina, what I started to see is when you treat topically, I can address something surgically. In other words, I can make the labia minora smaller. I can make the vagina tighter again surgically, right? But treating topically, a lot of people do not like the fact their vagina is dry. It's hyperpigmented, lichen sclerosis. There's certain dermatologic conditions that the CO2 Lift V can actually treat. And topically, it can just bring oxygen to the area. It's almost like a topical hyperbaric chamber, and it helps healing post-surgery. So it works great it sounds funny that we're talking about this online. I can't believe I'm saying it, but it works great on the vagina. Like, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Because the vagina is it's so receptive to those kind of treatments with the way it's made and the type of skin there.
Yeah, it's all about that blood flow, that neoangiogenesis. And I love the science behind this product. They're clinically verified, clinically researched, and that really does matter. It's a game changer, I think, for most professionals and even patients who are really doing the research and putting in the work to make sure that they're well informed before they opt for one, treatment versus another. So this product really opens up a broader conversation about destigmatizing and focusing on women's intimate health, which I love this conversation. It's lacked in the past. Why is it important to address sexual health as part of overall wellness? And how do you think products like CO2 Lift V help address these stigmas and control the narrative?
Well, I think it was only in the last 15 years or 10 years, even a decade, that we really started to see women come in and be in command of their health and start talking about doing these aesthetic vaginoplasty or labiaplasty procedures down there, intimate health. So we integrated that all into the practice and found that people, once I make them look good, like say I do a facelift on someone or a breast augmentation, but they're going through a rough time in a relationship, I can do that external treatment, but that really doesn't mend the internal pain they're going through. Something internal we wanted to address was was stuff like they didn't feel like having sex again. They didn't have
Right.
libido. Their husband was cheating, whatever it was internally with a relationship. My plastic surgery, aesthetic plastic surgery doesn't fix, right? And we all know that. But we so want it to, but that's why I love integrating into my practice almost like an internal medical component where my nurse practitioners see you, do a physical exam, and then we recommend treatments based upon what your symptoms are. Is it that you can't sleep anymore? Do you have, do you kind of have, urinate when you cough? All those things we can treat. And I think the VCO2 lift and CO2 lift for the face and healing go great in a plastic surgery practice like mine, because we can use that for healing. It's a post-operative topical treatment that I'll put on after a labiaplasty. I often will include, some type of like O shot or PRP shot to the vagina, the periclitoral area, periurethral area, and all those things together. It's just like icing on the cake.
Now, let's shift to the sexual wellness services you offer to your male clientele. So while the CO2 Lift V that we've been talking about benefits women vaginally, they also have their CO2 Lift Pro Carboxygel, which offers versatile applications for the face and body. But something many people don't realize is that men can actually use the CO2 Lift Pro even on their penis.
Yeah.
So how are you incorporating CO2 lift in treatments for penile health, and what specific benefits does it offer?
I found whether it's PRP for the P shot or it's my J shot, which is enhancing them, I put that filler and PRP under the skin, but topically and on the scrotum, we can also apply the CO2 lift. And that can bring, like you mentioned, the word angiogenesis is an important word there, because what it does is it provides a chemical reaction that breaks down the CO2. It's called the WOR effect chemically. And it basically brings in oxygen to the tissues and oxygenates the tissues. And so it's like a really, really kind of souped up oxygen mask for the penis.
Yeah.
And so, or wherever you put it. And that will help with just kind of it helps with skin appearance. It helps with healing, and it helps just to kind of to make the external look good. And I find my male clientele, whom I love, they want to look good everywhere, but down there too. They have they're very keyed in. Obviously, we know that men are, and we appreciate that, but they're very keyed into that area. And so, at any age, I have patients ranging in the male, contingency from like early 30s to 80, 85.
Wow. So
from stemming from just wanting to look good and wanting to look bigger to having erectile dysfunction problems. And we get, there's all sorts of things that we can help them with.
Yeah. And I love the CO2. This is such a proprietary treatment, really kind of changing the landscape of non-invasive, therapies that are out there. Now, sticking with this theme, I know that you're at the forefront of non-invasive treatments and are a luminary for several device companies, which allows you to be one of the first doctors in Texas to offer these technologies all under one roof. It's fascinating. So in recent years, have you noticed a growing demand for these non-invasive sexual wellness procedures and treatments, whether they're addressing aesthetics, functionality, or both? And how do you see these treatments evolving over the coming years?
I think, we've seen a big evolution of the device therapy, especially since like about 2017, 2018 is when a lot of the companies did manufacture a component to their device, whether it was laser energy or radio frequency energy or either radio frequency microneedling, that sort of thing, to treat the vagina and to treat male genitals as well. And some of those non-invasive treatments really help in areas that we can't address surgically. So we don't, and surgeons don't, gynecologists we don't do internal work such as tightening the vagina for aesthetics. That's not something we do because we get concerned for surgical scarring. So there's certain parts of our anatomy down there that only non-invasive therapies will work. And that's where that evolved. It evolved from the medical spa industry, Botox, filler, laser for the face, ultrasound energy for the face. You've heard of evolution with cool sculpting, dual therapy, to soft wave. And so those are all non-invasive treatments to help either whether it's get rid of fat or to lift the face. Now, those companies have been in development and they all have helped to, create a component for sexual wellness, which is really, really great. And that's the part I think that we've always really embraced in my practice. Was I always very much embraced the sexual wellness aspect of looking good, because I can look good on the outside, my face, you can see filler, you can see Botox, that sort of thing. But the fact that we can apply some of those energy-based devices and modalities to the vagina, or whether it's to the male genitals or whatever body area, really has been a game changer. I think it's been a game changer in my industry. And it's been a huge part of my career, is to kind of develop and build the medical spa part of my practice, because I saw that great synergy that could occur. And it continues on. I think the future is in, people ask, what's the future? I think the future is in these modalities are getting quicker, more painless, non-invasive fat reduction, non-invasive skin tightening, all those good things. And as you know, when we look better, people kind of feel better on the inside too. It makes us feel, my surgeries can, whether it's me or another cosmetic plastic surgeon, our surgeries can be life-changing in a matter of hours. So just to be able to add those non-invasive options helps a lot.
Wow, you are so full of knowledge, and it's great talking to you. We're at the end of our date. I can't thank you enough for coming on. I learn every time I have an expert on the microphone, I learn something new, and you are definitely a pioneer and a trailblazer in your field. So thank you for coming on onto the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
That was our Going Deep segment, brought to you by CO2 Lift, and that was the incredible Dr. Jennifer Walden. She's a board-certified plastic surgeon and the founder of Walden Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center. To learn more about what she offers at her practice, you can head directly to jenniferwalden.com and definitely check her out on the gram at Dr. Jennifer Walden. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CO2 Lift. As we age, our skin loses moisture and elasticity, causing wrinkled skin. You can reverse this aging process with CO2 Lift. CO2 Lift utilizes the powerful benefits of carbon dioxide to lift, tighten, and regenerate your skin. This simple, painless at-home carboxytherapy treatment is scientifically proven to reverse the aging process. You will see reduction in wrinkles, increase in luminosity, and improve pigmentation, sagging, skin tone, and radiance.
For more information or to order CO2 Lift, ask your skincare professional or go to co2lift.com.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV with Kathy Ireland and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
In business and in life, there's always an upside. Finding it is often the challenge. Having a mindset that looks for it and embraces problems as opportunities is the key to thriving. Finding the Upside with Maria de Lorenzis Reyes explores the transformative power of optimism, featuring visionary business owners, influential leaders, and inspiring everyday people. Tune in and see how they navigate changing conditions with optimism and innovation. Watch the special series One Tough Chick, highlighting resilient and powerful women, streaming on yourhometv.com.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome back to the Better, Brighter You segment, brought to you by Cespera, the gold standard in treating hyperpigmentation. Hyperpigmentation affects millions worldwide, disproportionately impacting women and people of color, and research shows that it can take an emotional toll equal to or even greater than acne. Today, we're bridging the conversation between pioneering regenerative medicine and proven dermatological treatments like Cespera. Joining me is Dr. William Gale. He's a board-certified physician, innovator, and founder of the Gale Center in Midtown Manhattan. He has over 20 years of leading experience through breakthroughs in anti-aging, engineered immunotherapy, and regenerative skincare. He's not only an educator to physicians worldwide, but also a patented product developer whose work has gone public in those biotech spaces. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Thank you very much. Wow, that was a great introduction. Thank you so much.
Excited to have you.
As I am here too. Thank you.
So let's chat the science of renewal. regeneration has become a buzzword, not just in medicine, but also in aesthetics. And it's on everyone's lips, from stem cells to growth factors, yet often it's misunderstood. So
Yes.
for the skin, we know renewal is critical. Our epidermis turns over every 28 days or so. Collagen production slows as we age, and oxidative stress compounds damage. And at the same time, hyperpigmentation remains a persistent challenge. Of course, one that Cespera has directly addressed with targeted science-backed tech, which I love. So from your perspective, what role does regeneration truly play in maintaining and restoring skin health?
So regeneration it's exactly like you said. There's always cell turnover. In fact, I don't know if the listeners know, we have about 60 billion cells a day that turn over. I mean, think about that. We're talking in the billions. That's how many cells in our body turn over every single day. And there's one cell that is known as senescence, which means, you may have heard that before, but senescent cells are cells that are starting to get inflammation, and they're going to die, but they're not dead yet. And so as these cells are aging and dying, they stimulate inflammation. And I think we all know inflammation is the root of all evil. So if we can lessen senescent cells, we can actually be healthier. And so there's a whole section of medicine called senolytics, which are trying to figure out a way to lessen senescent cells. But senescence leads to aging, inflammation, hyperpigmentation, all those types of things, all those bad things that we don't want. So one of the things that we've started doing is to incorporate stem cells into our skincare. And how do we do that? Well, we actually can take stem cells, and stem cells make these little tiny particles of protein called exosomes. Now, I don't know if the listeners are familiar with exosomes, but the way that I make an analogy is to think of the stem cell as the queen bee, and think of the exosome as the worker bee or the drone. That worker bee does all the work that the queen tells it to do. So what we have done is incorporated the stem cells exosomes, those are the worker bees, into serums that when we put on topically will sink into your skin, get down to the deep dermis. The exosome will then renew the fibroblast, and then you get new skin. You'll start to see,
Wow.
you're right, you'll start to see scars go away. You'll see lumps and bumps go away. You see your pores get tight. It's all in the fibroblasts. It's all in the deep dermis. The trick is how to get down there.
Now
Now,
that's fascinating,
yeah,
because I want to this I'm going to go into the next question. It really reframes regeneration not as a gimmick, but as a core part of how skin functions and heals.
absolutely.
I just learned something. So let's chat risks, realities, and research. So whenever there's innovation, there's also hype, right? And we've seen regenerative claims plastered across everything from serums to supplements, and the average consumer has no way of separating science from marketing. Meanwhile, patients with pigmentary disorders are hungry for real solutions.
Right.
Studies, in fact, show nearly 40% of dermatology visits among women of color are pigment related. And that's why clinically proven treatments like Cespera stand apart from just the trending products. So how well are regenerative therapies actually understood today? And what risks should patients be aware of when evaluating what's on the market?
I completely 100% agree with you. There's so much hype out there. There's so much statements out there with not proven. It's really difficult to know what really works, what really doesn't work. Cespera, yes, really works. I use Cespera on everybody that has hyperpigmentation, and I love Cespera. It works really, really well. When I also want just an improvement in my skin, let's say the quality of my skin, besides the hyperpigmentation, I add to it a serum, like I said, that has the exosomes. Now, here's the problem. Who has good exosomes? Now you have to go back to who has good stem cells that made good exosomes. It's impossible to know. The only way you can know is by usually speaking to someone who has used a product that really works, or if you know someone like me who's done their due diligence for the last 15 years. So I almost want to say, I hate to say, it's almost like trial and error. But how could you possibly know? Yes, we know Cespera works. There's no doubt about that for hyperpigmentation. But how do you know about all the commercials on TV, all the advertisements you hear in magazines, It's impossible to know what really works and what really doesn't. So I can tell you, because I have a lab where we actually do have our stem cells that produce our exosomes. It's in Arizona. And I work with a biochemist who's a partner of mine in Los Angeles. And everything we do is in the United States. And I prove to people how things work because I actually have objective evidence of how good our products are.
It's a good reminder, Dr. Gale, that not every shiny new product is safe, right, or effective, and patients really need to look for true clinical validation. So I love that you took that verification route, clinically proven, clinically researched, clinically verified, and I know that that's important. Now let's chat career turning point. So you've worn many hats: physician, researcher, educator, innovator, and at the same time, patients often inspire the next phase of a doctor's career. So, for example, in the hyperpigmentation space, so many physicians wanted a treatment that worked beyond bleaching agents or lasers. And that gap led to innovations like Cispera. So,
Right.
was there a turning point in your own career that pushed you beyond clinical practice and into the world of product development?
Yes, that's a great question. Wow, that's a while ago. I would say it was back in about 2008 or 9. I took a course called Stem Cells in Aesthetic Medicine, and that led me actually to start doing hair restoration by getting stem cells from people's own fat and then
Wow.
putting it in their scalp. And that led me to meeting people that are scientists that work in labs, where I started doing research of getting stem cells and using them intravenously in studies for people that had disorders that were systemic, like lupus and rheumatoid arthritis, and also then injecting stem cells into like knees and shoulders, all part of clinical studies, which then eventually led me into really regenerative medicine from aesthetic dermatology. And one of the studies that I'm into that it just happens to be because of associations you meet in networking is using a drug right now that I can't say the name of or the company, where we're using an intravenous drug for reversing dementia right now. So
Wow.
people that have Alzheimer's disease, Lewy body's dementia, even people that have multiple sclerosis or who have had a stroke, Parkinson's, we can give them a drug intravenously and reverse it. Not halt the progression, but reverse it. But that's all I can say about it because we're in between a phase 2 and a phase 3 study. So I do that in my practice, and I have people fly to me from all over the world, including Saudi Arabia, and London. They come to me to New York City. But I also am involved, believe it or not, in with a company that takes people that have bad stage 4 cancers, and they take their tumors or their cancer and they decode the RNA sequence of that tumor and then build a vaccine to kill it. And they're fast tracked for FDA approval. It works so well. So we basically have almost a get out of jail free card. But you
Wow.
could.
I'm going to come to you for any of the, because you've covered everything there. Now, let's chat from clinic to lab. So, the Gale Center has been a hub for regenerative medicine and aesthetic dermatology for over 2 decades. But what makes your work so compelling is that you're seeing patients every day. You understand their struggles with aging, with discoloration, and skin resilience. That hands-on clinical perspective is so valuable in an era where many quote unquote skincare brands are designed purely by marketers, right?
Right.
So how has your day-to-day patient care influenced the way you approach innovation in skincare and technologies that you choose to develop?
So I have developed a way of applying exosomes, because exosomes, which come from stem cells, they do the work of the stem cells. They want to reduce inflammation. Inflammation is the root of all evil, let's say. But let's say in my daily practice, I'm using CO2 laser, I'm using microneedling radio frequency, I'm treating hyperpigmentation every day. And like I said, I use Cispera on everyone. They take Cispera home. But in my office, I will use a what almost looks like a sun tanning device and spray my exosomes on the skin because I know they're sinking in through the pores. And I know if I use them, I'll have less downtime for whatever I do, and the person will get a better result. So if there's something I can do to lessen the amount of downtime someone's going to have and give them a better result, I put them on before I start my treatment. Then when I do a treatment, after I do like one pass of laser, put my exosomes, I spray them on again. They dry in about a minute, and then I continue doing my treatment, and then I put my exosomes on. And then when people go home, one, they use Suspera, and two, I have a certain serum that I developed that incorporates exosomes and something called peptides to reduce inflammation and stimulate collagen growth so that people get a better result.
Oh, you have it down to a science, don't you? Now, and when it comes to skin tone and clarity, okay, patients often look for a combination approach. They try lasers, they try peels or prescription agents, but none are perfect. So when we go back to the narrative, Suspera has actually earned its place in the only clinically proven non-hydroquinone treatment for stubborn hyperpigmentation, and
right.
derms all over the world are using it as part of a combination therapy. So in your view, how do regenerative products complement established treatments like Suspera and lasers or chemical peels?
I love that you talk about Suspera because I love Suspera. It works very, very well. I use that in combination, believe it or not, with a sunscreen that I developed. And its name, I'm calling it ExoSun. Why ExoSun? Because it has exosomes in it. So I like to use exosomes in all of my products because it is skin regenerative. So we're renewing your skin. Now, this is what you're really going to like. We have sun protection factor that covers 97% of the sun's ultraviolet rays with the SPF. We have my exosomes for skin regeneration, but we incorporated a compound into it that repairs damaged DNA from the sun's ultraviolet rays so you don't get skin cancer. That's never been done before. I don't want to say what it's called. It's very technical, but it's an actual compound that we make in our lab that will delete the gene mutation that the sun's ultraviolet rays cause. And here's a little technical. DNA always has two amino acids that bind to each other. It's always A to T and G to C. Well, when the sun's ultraviolet rays hit your skin, it causes a gene mutation where A no longer binds to T. Instead, the thymine, which is T, binds to another thymine in our DNA, and that's called a T dimer. I know that's technical, but what does that lead to? That leads to actinic keratosis, which leads to squamous cell skin cancer, and the T dimer leads to basal cell cancers. So what we've done in the sunscreen is incorporated a product that reverses the T to T bond or the T dimer and makes it go back to the A, which is adenosine.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're actually invented something that reverses the gene mutation that leads to skin cancer in our sunscreen. And
That's
I
such an
combined that with
exciting vision.
Suspera. Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
And you're blending cutting edge regenerative science with proven treatments,
Exactly.
giving patients that real long lasting
Right.
results. And one of the challenges in aesthetics, I think, is misinformation, right? I mean, whether we're talking about Suspera, any one of the other major companies that you're working with, they all had to overcome early skepticism by proving their results in clinicals. Regenerative skincare is often clouded by myths. We've been saying this. And some people believe that the word regenerative means instant results, while others confuse it with unsafe or untested stem cell claims. So what misconceptions about regenerative skincare would you like to see left behind, especially as patients turn to more evidence-based treatments like what you're talking about?
I love that because one of the questions I'm always asked is, I'm just going to lead, is plant stem cells. They'll always ask me, well, how do plant exosomes and plant stem cells work? And I have to tell people that plants are good for plants, but not for people. A plant stem cell / exosome will never generate a person's tissue, let's say, or skin. So one of the jokes I like to say is plants exosomes are great if you want to make a salad, but they're not good for us.
So looking 5 to 10 years down the line, where do you see regenerative skincare heading, and what breakthroughs do you think patients should look forward to?
More stem cells / exosomes to regenerate the dermis, the fibroblast, like I talked about. That's the most, I would say, innovative, let's say, technology ever invented. But I wanted to say one thing about the biochemists that I've worked with.
Mm-hmm.
She made the first peptide skincare cream ever. So we're going to talk about the length of time. That was 1995. She took vitamin C and 3 amino acids. And one of them is called proline, and vitamin C stimulates collagen. So when you talk about how things have moved forward, that was 1995 was the first one to ever hit the market. And now here we are 30 years later, where we're now taking her peptides, but wrapping them around as stem cells product and exosome. I think that is so futuristic, but that's just going to, hopefully people will be able to improve upon what I've done, we've made a cocoon of collagen producing amino acids to protect basically a stem cell / exosome to give us new skin. I don't know who's going to do it, and I don't know how I can get more futuristic than that.
Wow.
But this is really amazing stuff we're talking about right now. It's happening right now.
All
So
right.
yeah.
Well, we are at the end of our date. We could continue on for another 30 minutes, but
Oh, easily.
yeah, you are fascinating, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. I look forward to meeting you and letting you try them.
To learn more, you can visit Cespera.com, and you can follow Dr. Gale's work at drwilliamgale.com and on Instagram at DocManhattanNYC. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Cespera. If skin discoloration is making it hard to find your Zen, Cespera can help. Stubborn pigmentation, dark spots, and uneven skin tone concerns go beyond the surface, affecting both confidence and self-expression. In a sea of skincare choices, Cespera stands apart. Backed by science and trusted by dermatologists worldwide, Cespera is powered by the advanced cysteamine isobonic amide complex, delivering clinically proven results and effectively targeting mild to persistent discoloration while restoring the skin's natural glow. Unlike harsh treatments, Cespera is formulated for all skin types, including sensitive areas, ensuring visible improvements without irritation. Whether pigmentation is a new concern or a long-standing struggle, Cespera works in harmony with the skin to bring balance, clarity, and renewed confidence. Cespera is science-driven skincare for confidence that shines. Find your skin zen and restore your glow with Cespera today by heading to Cespera.com.
Welcome back, my amazing friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome back to this week's Clean Collective segment brought to you by Society Brands and Clonomic. Now, a few weeks ago, we had Dr. Jen Fraboni on, who spoke about how little daily habits can quietly wear down our bodies over time. Well, here's another one you probably never thought about twice. Hidden right in your kitchen, plastic zip bags. Yep, they're everywhere. Snacks, leftovers, even the freezer. But here's the shocking part. When plastic is heated or stressed, it releases microplastics, tiny fragments that get into your food and then into your body. And those particles don't just pass through. Studies show they can build up, cause inflammation, disrupt hormones, and even drain your energy and recovery. Think about it. If your body is fighting microscopic plastic every day, that's energy you don't have for your workouts, your focus, or just feeling your best. So what's the fix? You don't have to ditch convenience. Just switch to food storage that doesn't shed microplastics. That's where Clonomic zip bags come in. Instead of petroleum-based plastic, they're made from a plant-powered cornstarch that breaks down naturally. Same convenience, same durability, but without the hidden health toll. They're BPA-free, freezer-safe, and fully commercially compostable. So when you're done, they turn back into nutrient-rich material instead of more waste. And they come in 4 everyday sizes: snack, sandwich, quart, and gallon. And the best part, they ship straight to your door. And if you choose the subscription model, Clonomic will even send you free commercially compostable trash bags for life. Imagine never worrying about those plastic chemicals leaking into your family's food again, and knowing every bag you use is better for your body and the planet. Check out Clonomic zip bags today at clonomic.com and protect your food, protect your health, and give your body the break it deserves, free from hidden microplastics. We'll be right back after this. You're listening to A Moment of Zen. I'm your host, Zen Sams.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Cleanomic. Cleanomic zip bags are certified compostable. They break down into nutrient-rich fertilizer that nourishes the earth. They're BPA-free, so no harmful chemicals leak into your food. Available in snack, sandwich, quart, and gallon sizes. They ship straight to your door. No more store runs. Plus, get free trash bags for life with the subscription. Protect your food and health from hidden microplastic particles by heading to cleanomic.com today. A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV with Kathy Ireland and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
Are you looking to build a new home? Think about building a barn-dominium. There's just something about getting away from it all. Country living, fresh air, and outdoor entertainment. Watch luxury barn-dominium tours on Your Home TV and let Stacy Lynn, the barn-dominium lady, take you on a journey through her barn-dominium designs.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
Well, that's a wrap, my dear friends. Remember to join me right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. Or you could head to 710WOR.iHeart.com/A Moment of Zen. Also remember that we're live on Traverse TV Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern. We upload to YouTube Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern. And all episodes of A Moment of Zen are available on Your Home TV streaming platform. You could head directly to our channel at mox.yourhometv.com. Thank you for listening to A Moment of Zen. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host. Thanks again to all of our sponsors that continue to make the show possible. And remember that happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it. We'll be back next week.